To warm up, I always start with lip trills, so it's just sort of a gentle way to sing. And then go into some sort of arpeggio. Something like that.
I'll do sirens, like, and because I'm an alto, I'll just kind of go into my chesty voice a little bit and resonate down there.
Well,
meow.
I mean, no, but for warming up our voices, because we're both singers,
Yeah.
So we do kind of different stuff. Wanna give it a try? Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bass, so I don't really warm up.
Oh well. See ya.
Here in West Yorkshire, in the Diocese of Leeds, we run the largest programme of church music for young people in the country. And our total reach is about 3,500 kids that we meet every week in schools and after schools. In total, we're responsible for around 50 choirs, and we've about 5 or 6 boys' choirs and 5 or 6 girls' choirs. And we're particularly unusual here in being successful in getting boys to sing in the same numbers as girls. I think the distinctive thing about our approach is that we work with children in some of the most disadvantaged areas of the locality. And in a lot of these areas, children are coming from the sort of backgrounds where musical opportunities and parental aspiration is more limited than you might find elsewhere. The most important thing in making all this work, and on this sort of scale with 3,500 children, is not just being self-reliant. And over the years, we've built partnerships with various organisations. Now, our most important partnership to date is with Leeds Trinity University, that are the first university in the UK to sponsor a children's programme entirely. And they're sponsoring the Leeds Trinity Cathedral Boys Choir and the Leeds Trinity Cathedral Girls Choir, which are 2 groups of around 20 children in each choir that come together several times a week to rehearse with Lucy Haig and perform various liturgies. Having Notre Dame University here is great as well, because they mirror what Leeds Trinity has been achieving here in West Yorkshire by having their own set of children's choirs, again drawn from the local community. And it's great that we can celebrate this partnership together, as I think there's an awful lot we can learn and share with one another.
4 years ago, the University of Notre Dame hired me to start a children's choral music program, sacred music sung by children. It's something that's largely absent in most parishes in the United States, a few in large cathedrals. But the University of Notre Dame is taking an active role in training the next generation of both church music directors and the children who will then filter into those choirs. And so I was brought in to start a community-wide children's program that sings liturgical song or liturgical music, as well as anthems and motets from many different religious musical backgrounds. We grew over the last 4 years from about 25 children to now over 200 kids in 10 choirs. And similar to Leeds Cathedral, we also started an organ training program. And so about 25 of those children also study the organ with some of our students.
I've come on this trip as part of a class. I'm in a sacred music program, and part of our program is working with the children's choir. And I think the worldwide model of children's choir is in England, because it's built into the history of this country like it is not in America. And so we've come here to see how we can make our programs better, and to see what methods we can bring home and what we can learn from these wonderful directors who have sort of mastered the art of teaching choir to children and keeping children interested in the arts and in music. So I think it's sort of a cultural exchange.
I've been to America once.
You've been to America? Oh,
I've been
where
to
did
New
you go?
York.
New York? Oh. Was it fun?
I want to go to New York.
Oh, I'd like to do that.
I'm not even.
So well done on your maths yesterday, it was really good. I think there's just a couple of things that we can improve on to make it even better. Okay. But I'm really pleased to welcome our American visitors. Alex.
Charles Dickens.
That's great. Charles Dickens.
Everybody here loves Charles Dickens. Read them all day, never run away. We all love Charles Dickens.
William.
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, that's good. Gyrus.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. Ewan.
Chewbacca.
Let's have Chewbacca.
Chewbacca and cheese. Chewbacca and cheese. Everybody here likes Chewbacca and cheese. Read them all day.
Well, for me personally, getting into choir was, I found out that I was good at something, and then I decided to stick with that, and because I was in a band before I was in choir, and then like I was like an okay clarinet player, and then as soon as I found out that I could sing and I got into like the top choir in my high school, then I was like, all right, see you later, which is, I ended up regretting that, just because it's good to keep up instrumental skills, but it's an interesting thing in that, like, even though like everybody in a choir might not get along and might not agree with each other, like you have to sing together, and then so like it's a very unique sort of community in which everybody has like a common goal, but like there's so many different people who get into choir, and so I mean that's why I got into choir, is because I had a community that I knew was safe.
I'm in a choir because my parents started me in choir when I was 5, and I just kind of never stopped. I think singing together, you can make music together with instruments, and you can make music together in other ways, but singing together, there's something really special about people coming together to sing.
For me, the best thing about being in a choir is the part of my brain that's engaged, that's necessary for communication and teamwork and problem solving. I find it more intellectually satisfying than emotionally satisfying. I know some people do it for the community, and that's nice, but I just like having my brain engaged in a way that nothing else can really do it.
So in America, most if not all of the music education comes out of the public school system. It comes from, in elementary school, in our lowest level courses, we have just once a week music class. And then once you get into middle school, 13, 14, and then 15 through 18, there are choirs in schools. And so that's where the singing comes from, and that's where the music comes from. Whereas in England, we're learning that it really comes out of the churches, and that's where children find music education and music lessons and singing and learning how to read music. It's a really different approach, I think, having music education in a sacred environment, whereas in America it's very secular. I haven't quite figured out how it works here yet, but it seems to work well, so it would be an interesting model to take home.
Everybody's doing the monster stuff. Ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah. They say that monsters should be shot, but we're a very gentle, friendly lot. We'll stomp out the bombs and the blobs for you. They do seem to be harming you.
They do wonderful work in the school systems, but it means that a whole repertoire of music, sacred music, is being left out of education. And sacred music is where both our liturgical traditions come from, as well as our concert traditions. And so we feel that in order to train the next generation of both singers and concert goers, we need to start with the youngest age.
Christmas.
thing about the way that they teach boys choir here is that it just seems a lot more like rigorous than we have in the United States, but the children are not stressed out by it, and like they're like, I mean, and from what we have seen, these boys are better sight readers than a lot of musicians our age. We're witnessing a program of like total music immersion, like with the Catholic like base, within the Catholic environment, and so that's. And with our choir, I mean, we have a Catholic bond, but then at the same time, we have like two performances every semester, and these kids have performances every day. Like, so it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's very interesting perspective that the choral activity and the musical activity is their lifestyle.
Mm.
It's their routine. That's what they do, and it just comes natural for them.
While we're visiting the UK, we're going to spend most of our time in Leeds, but we'll take short journeys out to Liverpool to visit the Metropolitan Cathedral there and work with their girls' choir on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we're going to visit Westminster Cathedral in London. And then on Saturday, we're also going to make a journey to York Minster and observe an Anglican evensong there as well.
It's my first time being in London as a musician and looking at the music traditions in this country, and especially the sacred music traditions. So it's exciting. It's a different perspective.
Technically, we're supposed to be here to study choral methods. I'm interested selfishly in just singing in beautiful cathedrals, eating some good food, and just looking at just different historic places in England, because everything in the U.S. is so new. So there's a sense of history here that's much more profound. Yeah.
Well, I was just telling him earlier that the UK and America, they're like exactly the same except for like just a tiny bit different. So it's like we're in an alternate reality, kind of, just where like things are shaped different and flavors on bagels are a little bit different. Like
one of the things that's so beautiful about the Catholic faith is that it's a worldwide church, and people from different parts of the world express a very beautiful way of what it means to be Catholic. I mean, here at Leeds, I think we have there's this very special gift, and coming to Leeds, it just gives a greater sense of the worldwide church.
So in the United States, for the Notre Dame Children's Choir, we see the act of singing, particularly sacred music, as a part of the faith formation of children. And while our choir is ecumenical, we have children from all different faith backgrounds, we find it important that they come together, they sing a common music, which is often Latin, a common language, but then they have the opportunity to talk with each other about their own backgrounds of faith, and they find commonalities and they ask lots of interesting questions of each other. It's really a safe space for children to explore their own faith within this musical environment.
Having the choirs at Mass, for me, is a very a way of deepening my worship. The Church also, for centuries, has been a supporter of music, both within the liturgy and outside it. And going back many centuries, St. Augustine says, "He who sings well prays twice." So it's been recognized right from the beginning that music not only adds a kind of background to worship, but is integral to it.
Yeah, so I was raised without religion. I came from a family that didn't practice any religion and didn't go to church. And so it's been an interesting path for me to find sacred music. I came to faith and to religion through music, specifically through the sacred works of Bach. And there's something about sacred music over other forms of music that I think is really powerful. I think it is sacred music is the only art form that exists for the sole purpose of making people believe in something greater than themselves.
So one of the things that we're excited to do this week while we're visiting Leeds is to sing alongside the newly formed Leeds Trinity Boys and Girls Choirs under the direction of Lucy Haig. So those choirs will sing the treble parts, and the graduate students from the University of Notre Dame will be singing the alto, tenor, bass parts. It'll be an international partnership where I think we're both getting a little bit something. Our students are learning to sing chant, and we're providing the lower voices for this new choir that's been formed at the university.
It was very funny because we always thought about Mr. Dory as the Finding Dory, and they were just really nice to meet and nice people to sing with and talk with and be around while we were singing at Leeds Trinity.
I've enjoyed singing with the American choir because they have really powerful voices, and with my choir and their choir mixed together, it just harmonises perfectly.
I find them quite inspiring because they're really good singers, and I feel like one day I'll be as good as them. I really like singing because it's a way to praise the Lord, and not just talking or praying, but in a different way that I really like.
So London, Liverpool, and York, how these fit in with our trip? Well, we got to see different cathedral traditions. We got to go to an Anglican evensong in York, which was different. The other two churches in London and Liverpool had been Catholic services. So seeing the two different liturgies was very inspiring and eye-opening, and it was wonderful to see how children were being trained to be worshipers and lead in worship.
Well, singing with choir that makes me happy is that I'm surrounded by people I know I can really enjoy singing with, and I know that I'm singing with Christ and understanding with Christ, so yeah.
Seeing children being trained as musicians here has been incredibly inspiring. And I think what has touched me the most is not only do the kids sing at such a high level, but they love what they do. And it's been fantastic seeing directors who inspire children not only to sing music, but to love it.
I really like the Leeds Trinity Choir for all you've done for us, and it's been a really good privilege.